Hey everyone, my name is Kelly. I hope that you guys are doing well and ready to learn more about Excel. The main purpose of my videos is to help you guys increase your efficiency and productivity when it comes to using Excel. If you do like my video, I do encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to my channel. Today's video is an Excel tutorial which will explain the difference between the subtotal and the aggregate function. Let's begin by looking at what the subtotal and the aggregate function actually do. They both will return a value from a list of arguments that is based on the chosen function number and option. The formula structure of both of these functions is similar to one another with a slight difference. The subtotal formula, you would basically need to state the function number and then list the arguments. While the aggregate formula, you would do the same thing, but also need to state the option. But what are the function number and option? Well, the function number indicates a mathematical operation that you would want to do in Excel, while the option indicates what arguments to consider, whether it is to ignore hidden values, error values, or even the subtotal and the aggregate functions. Now that we have a general idea of what the subtotal and the aggregate function are, we will look more closely at each function. So to start off, we will look at the subtotal function. It only has 11 different mathematical operations as shown here in black. There are single and three-digit function numbers. The single-digit function number includes all the hidden values in the list of arguments. This signifies that even though you would apply a filter, the formula would still calculate the subtotal of all the data that is either visible or hidden, while the three-digit function number excludes all the hidden values in the list of arguments. This signifies that the formula will only calculate the subtotal of the visible data. Another point to consider is that the subtotal function will not consider other subtotal functions within a list of arguments. To summarize, the function number integrates the options when using the subtotal function. On the other hand, the function number and the option are distinct from one another when you use the aggregate function. The aggregate function has a total of 19 mathematical operations, which is 8 more than the subtotal function. It has 8 different types of options to choose from. The main difference between these two functions is simply that the subtotal function is more limited compared to the aggregate function. Let's now do an example which focuses on calculating the sum of the arguments and more specifically the different types of options when you use the aggregate function. Here is some data. The option 0 consists of ignoring the subtotal and the aggregate functions. This implies that even if there are hidden values, the formula will still consider them. So without having any filters, the net income is calculated as being 4,075. Once a filter is applied and you hide a couple numbers, the net income will not change, rather it remains the same. The option 1 consists of ignoring hidden values in the subtotal and the aggregate functions. The new net income would be calculated as 179,286, as the formula would only consider the information that is visible in the datasheet. Let's now take off the filter and then apply the option 0. If for some reason there was an error, this error would be projected to the rest of the formulas. To avoid this, you would simply have to apply option 2. This option tells Excel to simply ignore the error value. This will result in the formula calculating a net income of 40,747. If, for instance, you would apply a filter, the net income would not change as option 2 does not tell Excel to ignore the hidden values. This implies that the formula will consider both the visible and the hidden values. Now, let's apply the option 3. This option will ignore the error values. the hidden values in the subtotal and the aggregate functions. If you apply a filter, it would calculate a net income of 179,286 as only the visible values are being considered. If you apply option 4, you would be telling Excel to ignore nothing. This signifies that Excel would consider everything, such as all the error values, the visible and the hidden values, as well as the subtotal and the aggregate functions. A similar function to this option is the sum function. This would result in the formula calculating a net income of 19,237. I will not go over the other options, simply that we have reviewed those that are more complex. The option description explains itself, so if you are interested, I do encourage you to play around with the formula in order to become more familiar with it. I personally prefer to use the aggregate function as you can choose a mathematical operation as well as the option, so this function can be customized to your needs based on whatever you are doing in Excel. To conclude, using these functions on a regular basis will help to increase your efficiency when you use Excel. I do hope that this video was helpful. I have made other videos that explain different Excel functions. I do encourage you to view them, especially if you want to learn more about Excel.